Hello and welcome back. We are going to do a quick little rundown of Earthbreak Omega Protocol, our thoughts on it. We're going to do our best here to not reveal any spoilers for the case. We do have videos out in regards to episodes 1 through 5 that if you get stuck or if you're watching this and you're looking to see, hopefully this will give you an overall feel of what the case is about, what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and maybe some input from chat of, spoiler free stuff, chat. Keep that in mind of what you liked as well while following along and what maybe you didn't like. So I guess let's start with what this case is about. So overall, this case is aliens come in, have an invasion, a virus is released that kills off majority of humanity, and then a bunch of humanity was able to seek shelter in a bunker known as the Next facility. We, as survivors who are apparently immune, were able to find said bunker and were invited to join in into the bunker. So we became the newest resident of the Nax facility. So that's kind of the general, like, how we got where we were in the episode, or in the case. I mean, not the episode, but in the case. And when we first get in there, we're immediately met with what? Basically, immediately met with that somebody has died, right?
Yeah, like we come into like a small group of people, survivors that have had all these years together, that they've built all this like drama and gossip and all this other stuff going on, and we come in a devastating moment for them where one of their fellow facility members has been killed, and don't want to go into too much detail on that, but that sends whole group in
so
spiral.
We don't know whether she's been killed at this point, right?
Or she has a bot. Her
bot, yeah. So yeah. We just know that she's dead, right? So at this point, we don't know whether it is that she died or like due to the virus, because of the virus being outside, which is I think what we're being told initially is that she died because of the virus, and then we're trying to find that out as well as whether or not she died from the virus or whether she died because she was killed by somebody or by aliens or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, definitely, we're sitting here, yeah, how that happened, right? So exactly, yeah. So she was killed, but we're just not sure how, whether it was killed by the virus or killed by an alien or whatever the case may be. Yeah,
love you.
Yeah, exactly. Right like you said, right down there.
But like we get added to the facility for like the first time in years, and so like you get to go into this environment where all these people are in some ways way too close because of all the drama and all the like small stuff that they have going on. We get to join into that and kind of be an outside view into that. And personally for me, I thought this one was just so unique because we've done so many Hunter Killer episodes now that like this one was unlike any of the others. The others are all like who done it kind of a thing. This one is just like a much more, frankly, it's a much bigger deep dive, personally. If you are a big fan of detail, this is the one for you. 100%. Like, I had heard some rough stuff, like some just surfacey stuff about it, but I had heard like it was some of their older stuff. It was different. It was edgier. And I personally loved it, but I love more detail. Right. This one was a lot more detailed.
So,
I think it's about double the time of what a normal episode would have taken.
So, our normal episodes with the cases that we have done, we're not really like there's not been a lot of times that we've been pressed for time to try to keep it into that 2-hour time span for an episode. This one there's been like almost every episode with the exception of this last of episode 5 really. Every episodes 1 through 4, you absolutely, if you read every little thing, all of the forum discussions, if you really like the drama and you really like the tea, and you want that tea to be spilled,
it's fantastic.
Then the forums is where it's at in the next online program.
Yes.
But it is a lot of reading. There's a lot of comments on each post, things like that. So
it's a very large amount online, like not only paper wise, but like there's
Correct.
just as much online. Like it's
There is.
50-50. Normally I feel like Hunter Killer is about like 20% online, more like 80% paper material. Like there's some online stuff, but it's like not like as inclusive as this
Right.
was. But overall I loved like the more you put into it, the more you got out of it. And one thing I didn't know going into it is the facility has a website that you interact with. I don't want to say too much more than that without giving anything away, but the website is extremely interactive. And so sometimes frustrating because you get kicked out, but as every computer glitches, it is really fun because just when you think you figured out all that you can figure out, you figure out more. And like it really is like the deeper you go, like the more you can uncover. And like it's so layered. And I just really tended to enjoy that because of how they have it all staged and set up. I really liked this season. And as a bonus, I'm not going to show the pin, but there is a pin, a
Yep.
cat pin, and some of the newer stuff
Or like
doesn't
lapel
have
pin,
pins.
yeah.
Yes, a
Yeah.
lapel pin, but this one has a pin, and I'm not going to show it off because
Right.
it's secret. But there is a pin, which I did not know was coming, so that was super exciting.
Right. And I knew you would be. So
Yes,
yeah.
which is why you didn't tell me about it. Yes, indeed.
So overall, though, I mean, really enjoyable case.
Mm-hmm.
Like we keep saying, it is very time consuming on this one. I think that some of the other people we've seen or heard from, if you really dive into each episode, you could spend 4+ hours on one episode, really deep
Easily.
diving into everything.
I think I spent at least 3 hours between each episode
Right.
going through all the material.
Yeah, just trying to refresh on
Yeah.
everything and everything else.
100%.
Yeah, if you like the picket fences site, stuff like that from like Mallory Rock and things like that, then yeah, absolutely, the computer interface would be for you. Very well said, exquisite. So
Definitely.
it was a lot of fun to dive into a lot of that. This one is much more story driven.
Yeah.
I should say, like a narrative type of case.
Also cipher heavy.
And very cipher heavy, but like I would say overall the feel of it is more narrative driven rather than like the other cases that we've done where you're making a decision each episode to eliminate a suspect, right? You're not making those kinds of decisions in this case. So it just kind of is flowing from one episode to the next after you really what you're trying to figure out is things to be able to get access into certain sections of that website and everything else. So that's really what's driving you between episodes and what your objectives really fall under is doing those ciphers, figuring out passwords, and getting into areas that you need to get into to be able to find evidence for certain things. But not saying that that you're not getting a list of these 6 people are our suspects, and which is what we thought. Like in episode 1, we really thought that like we were being given all these names because this was our suspect list. And if you go and watch our episode 1, you're going to see that in the beginning where we see all these numbers and names and all this stuff, and we're like, oh, this must be our suspect list. And so but it really wasn't necessarily. I mean, it was and it wasn't. But
it's
it
just
very quickly
more of a
became
layered story. I feel like it's just layered.
I agree.
Itself,
so some of the stuff that we really enjoyed was how much interaction that we needed and help we needed from you all as chat and in the community, right? This case, I think, really drove home that how much help we needed, especially trying to keep it in a 2-hour time frame. If we didn't have the help from you all helping us solve some of the ciphers while we were solving other ciphers, then it definitely would have taken us 4 hours.
And I definitely feel like for us, we're decent code breakers. I'm not going to say we're like the top tier, but like we definitely are pretty decent at it. And for some of them, we did have to get some hints and some help. Like it was definitely one that like it'd be more of a like moderate to advanced level of code breaking. And using the hints and tips.
Yeah, so I will say as a caveat, one thing that we were talking about stuff that we really enjoyed about this. The one thing that was kind of the flip side of that wasn't quite as enjoyable with this case which because this is you have to keep in mind one as the caveat to that. One is that this is a much older case within Hunt to Killer's realm, right? Earthbreak has been out for a while. It's from their early phases of doing things. They've learned, they've adapted, they've changed how they do certain metrics of things. One of those things that they have changed over the years is their hints page, their hints and reveals page, right? Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, with this, it's still under the old format. If you are used to the newer format, where you can go and you can all the hints are in one section, and reveals are completely separated into a different button to press on the website. That is not the case with Earthbreak. It is all in one realm of page, and they are not condensable. So, and they are in order. So they will show you that, like, if it's hint 1, and then, we'll say that it's, contact letter hint number 1, contact letter hint number 2, and then right below that is contact letter reveal. Mm-hmm. And it's not condensed down. So be aware of that if you're going to be using the hints page, just be very aware that you're going to be reading the hints, and that if you scroll too far, you're going to immediately be seeing the reveal for what it is that you're working on. Or if you're not wanting a reveal of one thing, but you're working on something else, then as you scroll down to find it, you may see that reveal.
He's trying to chew your down.
Oh. Not step on my laptop.
Oh, he will.
So
I'm getting fired, dude.
But overall, though, like I said, we love the case. I would say that
it definitely had a difficulty rating of 5, like when we got into the episode. But I personally felt like it was fun. I don't know if I would feel like it was the exact hardest thing we've done, but it's definitely up in the top 3 of the most difficult we've done.
Right.
I definitely really enjoyed it, but it definitely is one that if you take it on, know that, like, unless you're willing to kind of devote the time to figure it out, it is not a quick 1 hour and done thing.
Right.
Like, it is at least 2 to 3 hours per episode, depending on the group size you have. Like,
right.
For
possibly 4 or more.
It would have been impossible because of how many codes there were. We were having to have the chat of 5 to 10 people helping us out. So that did make a huge difference for us on speed.
And exclusively, very well said as well. Right, a little bit annoying on, that there were very hard ciphers.
That's true. Yeah.
But they ended up that were related to, like, kind of the overall feel of the world building aspect and what help building that kind of imaginary world within our head. But really, it had nothing to do with furthering the case. So, hi.
He's just so overstimulated.
Right?
To do. But,
so I think that's very, very well summed up on that. Some of those ciphers are a little frustrating. They're very difficult to do. That they're a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't call them a red herring, but close. You
definitely have to filter a lot of filtering on what.
Right. So it's not that it's sending you in the wrong direction, though, which is a lot of times like what a red herring is going to do. Is it means it's the wrong direction that you're looking in, but at the same time, it's just it can be that a little bit frustrating that you spend a very long time solving a cipher just to realize that it really doesn't mean anything.
It kind of just layers on a little bit thicker, but, like, it's not like the end of the world. Yeah. The timeline helped a little bit in this season, but I will say the timeline, because I spent a lot of time working on that, really was not the main function.
I mean, like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but up here, we normally have up here is the time of death or day of death for our victim. And in reality, I think referenced it maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
And then after that, it didn't matter anymore of when that happened.
Because the victim dying is a piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Correct.
In this one.
Yeah.
Like, the death isn't the main... Sorry, he just totally wiped out. The death is not the main function. It is a portion to this story and how it
Yeah,
evolves, but it is not like solve the murder, end of story, or solve
correct.
the mystery, end of
So
story.
if
Like
you
it's not
are
that
on
kind of
now,
a puzzle.
sometimes I know there's a few like people out there that do the hunt to killer cases, and they're there for the solve, right?
Who done
They're
it?
they're there for the I have this mystery. I'm going to find the evidence. I'm going to find out who did it, and that's it, right? Like they're not diving into the good fences posts. They're not diving into the forums. They're not
Mhm.
diving into the all of the gossip and the drama and the spilled tea and everything that
The
helps with the
best
world building
parts.
of really diving in and immersing yourself in with the world.
Catnip.
And so this case, if that's who you are, is that you don't immerse yourself in it,
If you were more linear,
then
like you like to follow a story like
then
linearly, yeah.
you may not like this one as much.
Mhm.
Because there is a lot of world building in this one of to immerse yourself in.
Mhm.
Now, if, on the other hand, if you're on the flip side of that and you are very much of the deep dive into the and immersing yourself all the way in, then this is fantastic. Which is why we really enjoy it because it's a,
Yeah.
I don't deep dive as much. I do enjoy some of the drama and the tea, things of that nature. Red Panda really loves the deep dive down to little, nitty gritty of things.
Like learning
Um,
names, being able to collect them back. So, like, you know anything about the gossip sections or like all the little posts and how people comment on
right.
them. A lot of those are like sub characters, like very minor
Oh yeah.
characters, but they all have their own personalities. And so it's so funny how you get to know some of those characters and how they kind of play back into the bigger thing. Like one of the many seasons ago, with one of the cases, there was a really grumpy neighbor that loved to complain, and he showed
Yeah.
up in a different season later on, and we just got the biggest kick out of that because he was just one of those characters that everyone can relate to meeting one of those, and
Yep.
so it was just so funny. But each of those characters just have more layers, how they all interact and the dynamics. For me, like I just love the tea, frankly. Like it's just
Right.
thank you. I was trying not to ruin it,
I
but
love that
yes, love that guy.
guy.
He's just such a fussy
I
butt.
yeah. So, but overall, I mean, so what would you give this case like overall
I'd probably
in
give it like a
comparison to the other cases that we've
four
done?
point two stars, like
4.2.
out of
Okay.
five. Yeah, like I really,
Um.
really liked it. I just for me, a lot of stuff that I was so excited to figure out ahead of time, I kind of figured out before the storyline presented it. I thought was going to be like the end goal, and it was like not the end goal. And so for me, like I thought I saw the story going one direction with all the information that was being presented, and then it kind of went sideways, back around,
Right.
and give a
Yeah.
few twisty turns. And so,
Yeah.
like, by this episode, like this fifth episode, I was like, I don't even know what we're going to be doing today because, like, to me,
Right.
all of my big questions have been answered.
Right.
So I'm just like, I have no idea what today's about.
Right.
And it was still fun. It was still adventurous. But just the way you get the information, it kind of had me on my toes a bit. And maybe
Yeah.
it was fun in that way because I
The
didn't know what to expect. But it definitely didn't flow like I was expecting. And like they do focus so much on some of the details on the time some of the timeline stuff they get so in depth with that it doesn't end up really mattering,
yeah.
and yet other things become really critical information for me because I do like so much information. It's hard for me to filter some of it because
Right.
some of it I just want to know more about certain things. They
Right.
definitely don't tie a pretty bow around all of it.
Right.
It definitely
So
feels
is
more
there
realistic of an investigation where you don't get a full clear answer or picture at the very
yeah.
end.
So is there a episode or is there a case that we've done
Hmm.
that you like would call your favorite case that we've done?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That because so and then how would this
Mm.
case compare to that?
Honestly, I still, and this makes me feel silly, I still like, honestly, Mallory Rock. I don't know
Yeah.
why I thought I would hate that one because of ships, and I just don't know nothing about
Right.
ships and islands, but just the local culture, the history side
Yeah.
of things, the way they did the little teasers. I truly love Mallory Rock. I thought maybe it's because we did that one first. The code breaking was like really hard and really easy, so like it was a
Hmm.
really nice
Well,
mixture
we
of
technically
stuff.
did
Curtain Call
Curtain Call
first.
first.
Yes, and I did love Curtain Call.
Um,
That was going to be my
Curtain
top
Call was
five.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
But
really like
Mallory
Mallory
Rock
Rock. They
definitely
put a
still think
lot into Mallory Rock. You can
yeah.
tell. They really put effort into Mallory Rock.
Mallory Rock still, I think, just from the overall focus of Mallory Rock, I agree. I think that still is our top one. Everything from the fact that the trailer video for it that was done for
Well
it,
done. Mhm.
everything else, I think was really great. And so when looking at that, you know, would you rank if that's a 5 out of 5 at this
Mhm.
point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
for our stuff, we would feel that Mallory Rock is 5 out of 5. There's some
Mhm.
difficulty to it, some easiness to it.
It was good for
Um,
beginners, but it also had
but
enough to keep even diehards happy.
yeah, so in comparison to that, if that's a 5 out of 5,
Yep.
would you still then say that Earthbreak is a 4.2 out of 5? Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Because
agree.
there was a lot of it I loved. There's some of it I wanted more. I wanted more out of it. I wanted
Yeah,
more information.
I
There
I
were
would
just pieces
say
that were missing for me.
probably I would give it a 4, around a 4 out of 5. On everything. Some of these, actually, no. You know what? I'm gonna say probably 3.5.
My
So
biggest complaint
on
was the
my end,
website.
on my end, it's I would say probably about 3.5 out of
Really?
5 tangents. Yeah. The
Tangents. I hurt you. I hurt you.
but the only reason is because so some of these ciphers were like
Brutal.
absolutely brutal.
There's no
Yeah.
word for it. Brutal.
The and and some of this is stuff that I'm like, we just could not figure out. And even when we did know the answer, we just still didn't understand how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's on me, right? That's, I mean, that, could be that, I'm not saying that's on,
I feel like we were about
everybody,
75% we were able to get
but
with help from people, but about
yeah,
25% we had to use hints, tips, or cheat.
yeah.
By cheat, I mean like, figure out the
And
answer
I feel like
by the site.
this one is a very, well, we knew that going in. This is a very
Definitely
difficult
knew
case.
this was
On difficulty levels, this is a 5 out of 5.
100%.
As rated by Hunt to Kill It.
Mhm.
So
I think
it
Mallory Rock could be.
definitely could. I'm really torn between like 3.5 and a 4. The
3.75.
yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed everything with it. I didn't feel as encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
Like when comparing it to Mallory Rock, like Mallory Rock, I wanted to read every Good Fences post.
Yes.
And I don't normally
Yes.
deep dive.
I think maybe part of that is
But
because all the residents are known by numbers. And so
I think that might be it.
Because, like, for me, I was able to figure out the numbers up front, but even that, you're talking about a list of over 100 people. That is a lot of names and people and personalities to keep straight from episode 1 on. Hi.
I agree.
And so
exquisite.
I do feel like with that many cast up front, even though like your 6 or 7 main characters, or maybe like your 10 supporting characters, like I do feel like with a cast of over 100 people, like the discourse, which is their version of like Fences posts, was fascinating, entertaining, but a lot of it's like number person does this and number person says this, and so you have to like refer back to a list of like who's what number, who's this, who's that, and so when you're reading it, it doesn't flow as smoothly, and so until you can remember the numbers, which I think you kind of struggled with throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, because it's easier to it's easier
to remember a name.
Yeah, it's easier to remember a name. Yeah, absolutely. So
that definitely was a challenge.
But yeah, and so that's the thing. I think that's part of why I didn't feel as connected in this one. While we did do some deep diving on it, in Mallory Rock,
the history of the island.
Mallory Rock had those emails that would come out between episodes. This obviously isn't going to have that because of it being an older box set. So I'm not holding that against it. I do think that in comparison to their newer stuff, I mean, if you want to venture into stuff that is older, where Hunt a Killer has been, to see how far they've come with stuff, yeah. I highly recommend that you do Earthbreak. I have a feeling that Blair Witch is going to be similar. That we're going to have some stuff with it that we're not going to be used to when we go to do Blair Witch episodes.
If anyone has been around during the Listening Friends of America era, where they were doing like Inception and some of the older stuff, this isn't that deep or dark as those were. Inception's personally still one of my least favorite cases. It was just really. It was really deep and dark for an average family or for an average audience. I wouldn't recommend it. It was also probably, to me, the hardest case I've ever done in my life. Like, this might have been, like, pretty freaking hard. That one was, like, astronomically hard.
And that one you did on your own.
I did, and I didn't like it. I struggled a lot. No, you wouldn't have liked it. You would not have liked it. It wasn't as fun. It was very hard.
That would be a good way to look at it too, Exquisite. So, if they were to update the hints page, because the hints page, that kind of, I mean, it did drag it down the hints page specifically kind of hindered some stuff because, I mean,
it gave it away answers you weren't looking for, by accident.
So for me, and that's why I think I helped field that so
Yeah,
that
'cause I
you
couldn't read
all
it. Yeah.
wouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
But there were times where you, and some of you may, if you go back and watch episodes 1 through 5, you may pick up on, if we're looking at hints and stuff, where I eventually somewhat guide us to the correct answer.
Yeah.
Part of that is because I probably saw a flash of something
Yeah.
from the reveal section.
I will say for me,
So
go ahead.
yeah, so that's, I think, part of it of why I rated it a little bit lower than what you did, is just because of that that hindered the, okay, great, like I know I'm stuck, but let me see what this hint says and see if I can still figure it out on my own, to being, hey, here's the answer. So
I feel like for me, my biggest frustration with the whole thing was the websites. While the website was so fun because there was so much information on it that you did need, whenever you would go, so there's different pieces to the website, but if you would hit the refresh button by accident or somehow it would glitch out and flash out to the screen, you have to log in again.
right.
So like, I could never get through an episode without having to log in like 7, 12 times while I was researching stuff. And that's just got inconvenient because sometimes you have to go like 10 clicks into stuff within the website, and then when it refreshes, you have to go all the way back
so
in.
That's
and it
been
takes time.
an amazing improvement that Hunt a Killer has done with recent cases, is adding the accessibility, right?
Yes.
Like
the handwriting, because there's no like handwriting stuff, is there?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There was no like transcripts.
Yeah. So like
So
bad handwriting.
with there being no transcripts and things like that, and and having to type up so much or guessing what the letter number is because there's no transcripts. Yeah, that was a little bit more difficult. So that's stuff that, like, it puts it in perspective for me, which is why I also really recommend this case. I don't get us wrong. Like, don't take any of this feedback that we're giving, here towards the end of why we're rating it the way we're rating it, as saying that you shouldn't do this case. I absolutely recommend that you
I think
do.
you need to know what you're getting into before you do it. I don't think you would enjoy it if you didn't know what you were walking into.
Right.
I think it'd become very disappointing and you'd be like, I'm not doing
But
this.
knowing that it's an older case of theirs, and knowing that stuff has changed over the years, and yeah, seriously, absolutely, seriously, bravo on them for their growth. And Earthbreak, yeah, absolutely. I would still give it, my top 5 of cases that we've done. Mallory Rock being number 1, I would probably say that Earthbreak might be at number 4, number 5. But it's still there in the top. Like, the story building in it, the world building, I mean, is just fantastic. I really enjoyed the drawn, some drawn images of things that they include as physical evidence. And just in general, the stuff that they have with each of the boxes. So, but that's kind of what our overall. So, kind of in summary, do we recommend you do this case?
100%.
That's 100%.
I loved it.
Ultimately up to you, but we would recommend it. As long as you're keeping in mind, like I said, multiple times, highly recommended to do it as long as you keep in mind that this is an older case of theirs. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I just got it.
Okay. But with that, I think we're good, and we'll be good to go. So we'll keep you all updated. Don't forget, down below, if you're watching this later on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, for 1. But 2, don't forget to join the Discord. That link will be down below. Follow us on all of our socials to help keep up to date on things, and go from there. So we will catch you all next time. Well, stay safe, stay strange, and see you.